I threw a party for my 10-year-old son and invited my family. Nobody came. A week later, my mother sent an invite for my niece's sweet 16. $2,100 per person. Venmo me. Not even a sorry. So I sent her $1 with a note that said congratulations. I changed the locks. I blocked their numbers. 2 days later, the police showed up at my door. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know who's hearing this story. My name's Marcus. I'm 33, single dad, and I fix networks for a living. I know where every dollar goes. I can tell you the price of a gallon of milk in 3 different stores and which one restocks the 12-pack of juice boxes on Tuesdays. My son Tyler is 10. He loves Lego, hates olives, and thinks I'm a wizard because I can untangle cords without swearing. We live in a small rental house with a lean backyard and a grill I rescued from the curb. My family lives 20 minutes away. In my head, that always meant we were close. It didn't mean that. The Saturday of Tyler's birthday started simple. Blue streamers hung from the fence posts, moving lazy in the breeze. I'd bought a Costco sheet cake with Tyler level 10 written in pixel font because he's obsessed with video games. There was an inflatable soccer goal I'd rented for $40, set up in the middle of the yard. Folding chairs borrowed from the neighbor lined the patio. 6 of his classmates came right on time. Our street smelled like sunscreen and charcoal. The kind of smell that makes you think everything's going to be okay. I kept checking my phone. My mother had texted 3 days earlier. We'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. 3 words that felt like a contract. My sister Courtney had responded with a string of emojis and of course, Aunt Co's bringing party favors. My brother Nate had written I'll roll through after the gym, bro. Can't wait. I'd read those messages so many times I'd memorized the punctuation. I lined up little water bottles on the porch rail and taped a trash bag to the fence so the yard wouldn't look like a landfill by the end. I kept thinking about how much cake we'd need when they all showed up. Every 20 minutes, I checked the family group chat. Nothing. Just the little timestamp under their last messages, mocking me with silence. When the pizza arrived at 2:15, I told the delivery driver, "Could you wait a second?" I thought maybe a line of cars would pull up right then and I'd need to add another large pepperoni to the order. He looked over my shoulder at the tiny crowd of kids kicking a soccer ball and said, "You're good, man." He didn't know he'd just described my entire life in 2 words. 2 o'clock turned to 3. The sun moved across the sky. Kids kicked off their shoes and took turns with the inflatable goal. One of them scored and they all cheered like it was the World Cup. The neighbor across the street, Mrs. Alvarez, carried over an extra cooler filled with ice and said, "Full house today, huh?" I smiled like my face was made of wood and said, "Yeah, thanks for this." She patted my shoulder and walked back across the street. She knew. I could see it in her eyes. At 3:11, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out fast, thinking it was them saying they were 5 minutes away. It was my mother. The message was 4 words long. "Don't be dramatic, Marcus." Then another bubble appeared. "It's just a kid's party." I read it twice because my brain rejected it the first time. Not running late. Not got stuck in traffic. Not happy birthday, sweetheart. Just that line, cold and flat, like a slap delivered through a screen. I stood next to a bowl of orange slices that nobody had touched and the words crawled right under my skin and sat there. Tyler jogged over, cheeks red, hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. "Dad, can we cut the cake? Can we sing?" His eyes were bright. Hopeful. Unaware that his entire extended family had chosen something else over him. "Of course," I said. My voice came out steady even though my hands weren't. "Gather everybody, bud." We sang happy birthday in a small circle. Tyler blew out the candles in one breath because he'd been practicing all week. He grinned at me with frosting on his lip and I clapped like a seal, loud and enthusiastic, trying to fill the air where my family should have been. Then I stepped inside to the kitchen to rinse the knife and breathe where nobody could see me. The screen door squeaked shut behind me. The kitchen smelled like sugar and dish soap. My phone buzzed again. The group chat notification blinked at the top of my screen. I watched the 3 dots appear and disappear like a heartbeat. Then a message from Courtney dropped into the thread. "We'll catch the next one. Today's insane." A second later, my lock screen lit up with a notification from Instagram. Courtney had posted to her story. I tapped it before I could stop myself. Brunch. Mimosas in tall glasses with orange slices on the rim. A table full of people laughing, sun streaming through a window behind them. The caption read "Self-Care Sunday on a Saturday with my people." There was a little heart emoji at the end. My mother was in the corner of the photo. Sunglasses perched on her head, holding a champagne flute, smiling wide like she didn't have a grandson waiting for her 20 minutes away. Nate's arm was slung around the back of her chair. I recognized the tattoo on his forearm. The one I'd helped pay for 2 years ago when he was broke and swore he'd pay me back. I stood there with a wet knife in my hand and a 10-year-old in the yard who still believed adults said what they meant. The house smelled like sugar. Somebody outside yelled goal and a cheer went up. I put the knife down on the counter and wiped my hands on a towel. I walked back to the yard and handed out plates of cake. I didn't say one word about the empty chairs. Not one. When the last kid left, Tyler and I sat in the quiet living room and built the Lego spaceship he'd unwrapped earlier. He didn't ask about Grandma or Aunt Courtney or Uncle Nate. Maybe he didn't want to know. Maybe he already did. At 8:04 that night, after he fell asleep on the couch with a slice of leftover pizza in his hand like a tiny king, my phone pinged again. A voice message from my mother. I pressed play and her voice came through the speaker, sharper this time, careless in a way that made my chest tighten. "Don't make a big deal, Marcus. He's 10. He'll barely remember." I stared at the ceiling and felt something in me go cold and flat. A new shape with edges. I didn't write back. I started counting the chairs I needed to return to the neighbor and the cans I needed to recycle. I scraped frosting into the trash. I folded the banner into a shoebox with the leftover candles. I put everything where it belonged because that's what I do. And then I put my phone face down on the counter because if I read one more sentence from them, I was going to say something I couldn't put back in the box. I've always been the fixer. The one who knew the Wi-Fi password and the tax deadline and everyone's favorite side dish at Thanksgiving. I was 21 when my dad walked out. My mother's words to me in the driveway that day were, "You're the man now, Marcus." It wasn't a pep talk. It was a job assignment. When Courtney started her lash studio 3 years ago, I built the website and paid the first 6 months of hosting. "You'll get it back when I'm profitable," she'd said, breezy, like profit was a weather pattern she could predict. When Nate got a DUI at 25, I took a day off work to sit with him in court. I'm the one who drove my mother to urgent care that winter she had the flu and wouldn't stop trying to cook anyway. I'm the one who Venmo'd Nate's rent. "Just this once," he said. 3 separate just this once months. Every time it came with a chorus. My mother saying family helps family. Courtney telling herself in the mirror, "You're doing amazing, sweetie." To me it was, "Can you spot me till Friday?" And Nate's, "I'll pay you back, you know I will." He never did. But he bought new rims for his truck, so at least the lie had good traction. The day Tyler was born, I made a promise to him and to myself. He would never sit on a plastic chair at a party and wonder if his people cared. He would have cake even when money was tight. He would have apology texts when people messed up. He would have adults who tried. Money was tight a lot. Childcare is a second rent. Health insurance is a third. I still made it work. Overtime. Side gigs. I sold my old guitar to cover a dentist appointment. When Tyler outgrew his cleats mid-season, I found a pair at a thrift store and cleaned them with a toothbrush until they gleamed. Meanwhile, my family's group chat looked like a travel blog. Wine tastings. Silent retreats that were somehow very loud on Instagram. Courtney's soft life era. Nate's grind set, complete with a leased truck he took more pictures with than he drove. When I asked my mother once if she wanted to do a weekly dinner with us, she said, "Sweetie, my calendar is full. Maybe next month." Next month never arrived. But my phone did light up on payday. Little green bubbles. Quick favor. Emergency. Don't tell anyone, I asked. Last fall, Courtney booked a girls' trip to Tulum and called me at 11 at night the day before her flight. "My airline card got declined," she said, breathless. "Can you fix it? I'll pay you back Monday." Monday came and went. When I brought it up 2 weeks later, she sighed like I'd insulted her. "Don't be petty, Marcus. Money comes and goes. Memories are forever." In December, my mother sent me a spreadsheet. Holiday gift plan, it was titled. Names in one column, items in another, prices in a third. Color coding on the side. "We should split this equally," she'd written at the top in bold. Equal meant me because neither Courtney nor Nate offered a dime. I bought Tyler a winter coat and a book. I bought my mother the stand mixer she'd been talking about since spring. I gave Courtney a gift card to a beauty supply store and Nate got new trainers. My gift from them was their silence at dinner when I asked if anyone could bring dessert next time. It added up. And not just in my bank app. It added up in my chest. The math of being the responsible one is that you become their backup plan and they don't even see it anymore. 2 days after Tyler's party, I woke up to a new message in the family chat. All caps. Exclamation marks. Glitter emojis from my mother. Very important. RSVP by Wednesday. Then the details. My niece's sweet 16. $2,100 per person. Venmo me ASAP. No good morning. No how was the party? No sorry we missed Tyler. Just the world's most unhinged wedding tier price tag slapped onto a teenager's birthday with the urgency of a fire drill. There was a PDF attached. I opened it and saw a photo of my cousin in a tiara, standing in front of a ballroom mock-up. Orchids cascading from the ceiling. A menu that read like a cruise ship brochure. Caviar bar. Ice sculpture. Interactive gelato artist. I stared at the number like it would blink into something sane. $2,100. Per person. Then this line from my mother, "We'll need Marcus to cover grandma's spot too. She's on a fixed income." There it was. The assumption like a reflex. My name as a wallet. No mention of Tyler. No sorry we missed him. Not even a throwaway meme to acknowledge they'd ghosted a 10-year-old. Just an invoice I'd never agreed to. 5 minutes later, Courtney chimed in. "We're all in, obviously. Coco can't do less than premium, you know? Also, can we do a group gift? Marcus, can you coordinate? You're the spreadsheet guy." Then Nate, "Yo, do they have an open bar? If so, totally worth it. Marcus, you got me and Jess, right?" I set my coffee down and felt the burn anyway, spreading through my chest. I typed no and then deleted it. Not because I didn't mean it, but because I needed to be careful. Words skim on the surface with them. They don't sink in unless you tie them to something heavy. I clicked on the PDF again. My eye caught the last page. Sponsor acknowledgements in gold script. Under the heading Gold Patrons was my full name. Marcus Anthony Brooks. In honor of family. I hadn't given $1. I hadn't been asked. Courtney had submitted it without permission. I recognized the photo she'd used. She'd pulled it from my LinkedIn. My stomach did a slow, stubborn roll. I scrolled back through Saturday's messages to see if I'd missed something. Maybe there was a "so sorry we couldn't make it" buried under a meme. There wasn't. Just Courtney's brunch shot and my mother's voice note saying he'll barely remember. Another text popped into the thread. My mother again. "Also I talked to the venue. They need the deposit by Friday. I told them you'd handle it since you're the most organized." The deposit. For a teenager's party that cost more than my car. Assigned to me like an errand. I picked up my phone to call her and then put it down. I didn't trust my voice to come out soft enough to be heard. That evening, while Tyler did homework at the kitchen table and kicked his feet under the chair, I printed out the sponsor page from the PDF. I set it beside my grocery list. Then I grabbed a blank piece of paper and started writing. 2 columns. One for what I do. One for what they ask. Soccer fees. Mine. Court filing fee for Nate's license reinstatement. Mine. Website hosting for Courtney. Mine. Costco birthday cake. Mine. $2,100 per person. Theirs. Deposit for a party I didn't agree to. Theirs. It's just a kid's party. Theirs. I looked at that paper until the ink felt dry enough to pick up without smudging. The next morning, my mother sent a follow-up. "Marcus, you're quiet. Don't be difficult. Your cousin is only 16 once." Everything inside me that had been melting a little for years started to cool and harden. Not anger like fire. Anger like ice. Clear. Solid. Deciding. There's always a small moment before the big one. For me, it was grabbing my key ring off the counter and noticing the old brass house key. My mother had a copy of it. Courtney had borrowed mine last month to water my plants while I was out of town and never returned it. I looked at that key and realized my boundaries were made of soft metal too. That afternoon, I stopped by the hardware store. The guy behind the counter cut 3 new keys in 10 minutes. The locks were another $47. I paid cash. When I got home, I replaced the deadbolt and the doorknob. The new lock turned smooth for the first time in years. When it clicked shut, I felt a small click in my chest too. Like a safe door closing on something valuable. Next stop was the phone store. I walked in and told the guy I wanted a new number. Different carrier. Completely untraceable. He raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. 30 minutes later, I walked out with a new SIM card and a phone number my family would never have. Last stop was a lawyer's office. A family law attorney named Rebecca Chen. Her reviews online said she was direct and didn't waste time. I sat in her office and explained the situation. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "You want a cease and desist for your own family? I want legal documentation that they don't have permission to use my name, my image, or my financial identity for anything. Can you do that?" She nodded. "I can do that. $350. Letters go out tomorrow." I paid her on the spot. On my way home, I stopped at a FedEx and printed out every text message, every Venmo transaction, every Instagram post from the last 5 years. I organized them into a folder. Color-coded. Red for their luxuries I'd funded. Yellow for broken promises. Green for actual emergencies. I highlighted the totals at the bottom of each section. Money out from me, $22,100. Money returned to me, $340. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and wrote a check. $1. I didn't use Venmo. I used a certified check that required a signature and left a paper trail. In the memo line, I wrote "Congratulations on your priorities." I sealed it in an envelope, addressed it to my mother, and sent it certified mail with delivery confirmation. Then I went through my phone. Netflix. Spotify Family Plan. The iCloud storage I'd been paying for. One by one, I clicked remove user next to their names. I watched their accounts disappear from my subscriptions. It felt like deleting drafts of a life I'd never actually wanted. I updated my emergency contacts at Tyler's school. Removed my mother, Courtney, and Nate. Added Mrs. Alvarez from across the street and my boss at work. At 11:47 that night, I hit send on an email to the venue hosting the Sweet 16. Subject line, unauthorized use of name and image. I attached 3 files. The cease and desist letter from my attorney. A formal complaint I'd filed with the State Attorney General's office about unauthorized financial commitments. And a screenshot of the sponsor page with my name and photo. Body of the email, I did not authorize sponsorship for this event. Remove my name from all materials immediately. Further use will result in legal action. I CC'd the venue's legal department. Then I blocked my family's numbers. Not just on my phone. I called my carrier and had them blocked at the network level. Calls from those numbers wouldn't even ring. They'd just disappear into the void. I put my phone face down on the counter and took out the trash. The next morning, I slept past 7 for the first time in months. By noon, the flood started. They tried calling my old number. Disconnected. They tried adding me back to the group chat. Not registered. Emails poured into my inbox, but I'd set up a filter. Anything from their addresses went straight to an archive folder I'd never open. My mother left a voicemail on my landline, the only number I hadn't changed because almost nobody used it. Her voice shook when she spoke, the way it does when she's angry but wants to sound hurt. "This is your mother. You're not well, Marcus. Family doesn't do this. You embarrassed us? You embarrassed me." She inhaled sharply. "The police? Really?" I held the phone away from my ear like it was hot. I didn't know what she meant about the police yet. But I would soon. Nate texted from a new number he must have borrowed. "Bro, Mom's crying. Can you just pay the deposit and we'll square up after? We're family." I blocked the number without replying. Courtney posted a long Instagram caption. She didn't use my name. She didn't need to. It was all about toxic energy and people who can't be happy for others and how some people will do anything to ruin someone else's joy. The comments piled in. "You're a queen. So proud of you." Hearts and fire emojis everywhere. I scrolled through them like I was reading a eulogy for common sense. But then something unexpected happened. Cousins I barely talked to started reaching out. I saw the price, one of them texted. "Are they serious? I'm sorry about Tyler. That was awful." Another one, "If you need extra chairs next year for his party, we'll bring some." Mrs. Alvarez from across the street knocked on my door with a Tupperware container of brownies. She handed them to me and said, "You fought the right fight. Like we were comrades." Maybe we were. My house got lighter that week. Not because the furniture changed. Because the air did. No waiting for a key to turn in a lock I didn't invite. No jump in my chest when my phone buzzed. Even the refrigerator sounded different. Like it had room to hum. Tyler noticed the quiet in his own way. At dinner one night, he put down his fork and looked at me. "Are we mad at Grandma?" I turned off the sink and dried my hands carefully. "We're not mad, bud. We're disappointed. And we're taking a break. Like a timeout, kind of. Except this one's for grown-ups who forgot how to be kind." He nodded like that made perfect sense. "Okay," he said, and went back to his mac and cheese. Kids get it faster than adults. They don't have years of sunk cost fallacy telling them to accept less than they deserve. 2 days before the Sweet 16, my mother tried one last tactic. She sent a mass text to the family group chat. She labeled it apology, but it wasn't an apology. It was a press release. Family is complicated. Sometimes schedules clash. We love Tyler and we will make it up to him. The Sweet 16 is important because of business connections. This is an investment in our family's future. Please support us in this. Also, Marcus has been under a lot of stress lately, so let's not push him right now. Thank you for understanding. Investments. Business connections. Tyler was an afterthought behind a fake apology that blamed me for being stressed. I read it once and put my phone down. At 5 that evening, my email pinged. The venue manager. The subject line said payment verification. "Hi Mr. Brooks," the email read. "We received a call from your mother this afternoon stating that you've recommitted to your sponsorship and will be paying the remaining balance of $4,200. I wanted to verify before we proceed with processing." My hands went cold. She'd lied. After the lawyer's letter. After the AG complaint. After everything, she'd called the venue and tried to commit me to thousands of dollars I'd never agreed to. I typed back immediately. She lied. I have not recommitted to anything. Do not put my name on any materials. If she uses my name again, send me a recording of the call. This is harassment. The reply came back in under a minute. Understood, Mr. Brooks. We'll make a note in our file. I wasn't done. I opened a new email and attached 3 files. The cease and desist letter. The AG complaint. A new letter from my attorney threatening legal action for fraud and unauthorized use of identity. I sent it to the venue's general manager and CC'd their legal team. Subject line, unauthorized use of name, final warning. Body, my name and image were used for sponsorship despite written revocation. I have documented proof. Remove all references immediately or expect a lawsuit. I hit send and felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just the cold clarity of someone who'd finally stopped asking for permission to protect himself. The night of the Sweet 16, I took Tyler to the park. We shot free throws until the sky turned orange and bled into purple. His laugh bounced off the backboard and I thought about how cheap joy is until someone tries to invoice it. We got milkshakes on the way home. Chocolate for him, vanilla for me. He lined up his action figures on the coffee table when we got back and I let him stay up late to watch a movie. The kind of thing you do when you're celebrating something nobody else knows about. I didn't check my phone. I didn't want a play-by-play of orchids and ice sculptures paid for with someone else's guilt. I wanted this. My son's sticky fingers. His half-closed eyes fighting sleep. His trust that I'd choose him every single time. Just before midnight, a text slid through. Aunt Nora. My mother's older sister. The reasonable one who floated in and out of family drama like a ghost. I heard what happened, she wrote. They're furious. Courtney's been screaming about her ruined vision all night. Your mother's calling you ungrateful because she can't call you what she really wants to. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. I typed back, I didn't do anything. I just stopped doing things. She sent back a sad smile emoji. The only emoji I've ever actually liked. Then another text came through from her. They seated your grandma next to the fountain with the dry ice and strobe lights. She said she couldn't see her food. Your sister spent half the night yelling at the florist, the DJ, the waiters. There was this moment when the bill came and everyone just stared at each other. Nobody would make eye contact with your mom. I'm home now. I just wanted you to know you missed nothing. I set my phone down on the table and watched Tyler sleep with a smudge of chocolate on his lip. I wiped it away with my thumb and felt something open in my chest. Not anger leaving. Space arriving. Room to breathe without waiting for the next crisis I'd be volunteered to solve. The next morning at 7:42, there was a knock at my door. Firm. Official. I looked through the peephole and saw 2 police officers standing on my porch. I opened the door. Morning, the taller one said. We're responding to a call. Family member reported some concerns. What kind of concerns? I kept my voice even. Tyler was still in his pajamas in the living room, half watching cartoons and half listening to the door. The officer glanced at his notes. Said you were making threats. Said you had property that belongs to them. Also requested a welfare check on a minor at this address. There it was. 3 accusations in one call. Paint me as unstable. Accuse me of theft. Weaponize concern for my own kid. It was efficient. It was also about to backfire. Come in, I said, opening the door wider. We're fine. You can see for yourself. The officers stepped inside. The shorter one nodded at Tyler. Hey, buddy. Tyler waved with his spoon, unbothered. Hi. Can we talk in the kitchen? I asked. I kept the living room in my peripheral vision. Years of being the only parent makes you protective even when you're being inspected. We moved into the kitchen. I gestured to the counter. This is about my mother and my sister. They didn't come to my son's birthday party last week. Then they asked me to pay thousands of dollars for a cousin's Sweet 16. I said no. I changed my locks because they had copies of my keys. They don't like hearing no. The taller officer's mouth twitched like he was covering a smile. That tracks, he said quietly. I pulled out my phone and opened a folder I'd labeled evidence. I slid it across the counter. Screenshots of the texts. The brunch photo posted during Tyler's party. The $2,100 invoice. The Venmo receipt for $1 with congratulations in the memo. The cease and desist letter. The venue email confirming they'd removed my name. The AG complaint. The officer scrolled. His eyebrows did a little tick when he got to the sponsor page with my photo. Any weapons in the house? He asked, because he had to. Only butter knives, I said. And some Lego swords. He smirked. Any court orders? Custody issues? No. Tyler's mom isn't in the picture. It's just us. We're okay. He glanced toward the living room. You okay, buddy? Tyler gave a solemn thumbs up without looking away from the TV. The shorter officer checked his notes again. The caller mentioned property. Said you were holding a family heirloom necklace and refusing to return it. I blinked. What necklace? He read from his notes, eyebrows raised like he already knew this was nonsense. Caller stated you have a family heirloom necklace and won't return it. The only necklaces in this house are made of macaroni, I said. If she means the spare house key, I changed the locks yesterday. I can give you the old one if that makes this easier. We all looked at the brass key sitting on the counter like it was a prop in a bad play. The officers stepped to the side and exchanged a look. Then they turned back to me. The taller one spoke first. Here's the deal, he said. We see this a lot. Family gets used to a thing. Money, access, free labor. Someone changes the terms. They panic. They call us. We make sure nobody's in danger. Then we go write a report that says there's no danger here. That would be great, I said. My shoulders dropped an inch. Do you want to log anything on your side? The shorter one asked. Yes. I want it on record that they used my name for a financial commitment without my consent. I have the emails where I asked them to stop. If this continues, I want documentation that I've reported it. Good, he said. Paper trails help. Keep saving everything. If anyone shows up here and won't leave, call us. Don't engage. They handed me a business card and walked out into the daylight. I stood at the door with that feeling you get after a fever breaks. Weak and clear at the same time. 10 minutes later, my email pinged. The venue manager had replied. We have removed your name from all printed and digital materials. We apologize for the oversight and any confusion this may have caused. I exhaled. One thread cut clean. At noon, Aunt Nora texted from her regular number. I heard they called the cops on you. I'm so sorry. They're out of control. Courtney's screaming that you ruined her vision. Your mother's telling everyone you're mentally unstable. For the record, I don't believe any of it. I wrote back, thank you. She sent one more message, you protected your son. That's all that matters. The next 48 hours were a case study in how a system tries to reboot itself when you've pulled the plug. Courtney posted another Instagram story. This time it was a quote graphic. Something about how you can't pour from an empty cup and some people are energy vampires. The comments were the same chorus. You're so strong. Keep shining. Nate tried calling from another new number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Dude, this is insane. Just apologize to mom and move on. Life's too short for this. I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. My mother tried one more email. Subject line, final attempt. The body was short. You've made your point, Marcus. This has gone far enough. Family is forever. Let's move past this. I archived it without responding. But other messages started coming in too. A cousin I hadn't talked to in 3 years, I saw what they were charging for that party. That's absolutely insane. I'm sorry they did that to you. Another message from a different cousin, we heard about Tyler's party. We're so sorry. If he wants to do something fun next month, we'll take him to the trampoline park. Mrs. Alvarez knocked again with a casserole. You're doing the right thing, she said, like she was giving me permission I didn't know I needed. The house felt different. Lighter. Not because anything physical had changed. Because the air had. There was no dread when my phone buzzed. No flinch when I heard a car door outside. No knot in my stomach wondering what emergency I'd be voluntold to fix next. Tyler asked me one night while we were building Legos if Grandma was coming for Thanksgiving. I don't think so, Bud, I said. Why not? He asked. I thought about lying. Making it easier. But I didn't. Because she didn't show up when she said she would. And we don't have to spend time with people who break promises. He thought about that for a second. Then he said okay and went back to snapping bricks together. Just like that. Kids don't carry the weight of obligation the way adults do. They just need the truth. In the weeks that followed, my life rearranged itself the way a room does when you move a couch and realize it never belonged where it was. I told my boss I couldn't cover extra weekend shifts for a while. He looked at me and said good. Go be a dad. I applied for a soccer camp scholarship for Tyler and actually submitted it on time instead of letting the deadline pass because I was too busy fixing someone else's crisis. I created a folder on my computer called Receipts and Boundaries. Every time a thought tried to argue with me, every time a voice in my head said you're being too harsh or you'll regret this, I opened that folder and dropped in another screenshot. Bank statements. Text threads. Voicemails. The thought would fall silent. A card came in the mail one Thursday. Kid handwriting on the envelope. It was from Emma, one of Tyler's classmates who lived down the street. Inside, it said, Dear Tyler, happy birthday. Sorry we couldn't come. My mom said we had to go to a different party. I wanted to see the cake with the pixels. From Emma. There were $2 bills taped inside with Scotch tape. Tyler grinned like he'd found treasure. "Look what Emma sent, Dad." I took a picture of him holding the card and the $2. I didn't post it anywhere. I just saved it to my phone. For me. Proof that kindness still existed in small, unexpected places. Comment below if you've ever had to cut off family to protect your peace. I want to know I'm not the only one. 2 months later, Tyler's next birthday came around. I didn't dread it. I sent out invitations to his classmates. I texted Aunt Nora and asked if she wanted to come. She said yes immediately. A couple of the cousins who'd reached out asked if they could bring their kids. I said of course. The day of the party, the backyard was full. Not packed, but full enough. Mrs. Alvarez brought a cooler again. Aunt Nora showed up with a tray of cookies. The cousins I barely knew brought their kids and stayed the whole time. We sang happy birthday and Tyler blew out his candles and nobody was missing. I took a picture of him surrounded by people who actually showed up. Not for social media. Just for me. Proof that boundaries don't destroy family. They reveal who was never family to begin with. I didn't lose my mother or my sister or my brother that year. I fired employees. I let go of people who saw me as a resource instead of a person. And my son? He finally got a dad who doesn't flinch when it's time to say no. A dad who chooses him every single time. That's the end of the story. If it hit you the way it hit me, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about people who finally chose themselves. And drop a comment. Tell me what you would have done. I read every single one.